Hello friends, today we are going to begin a very interesting topic called forensic accounting. When you hear the word accounting, you probably think about recording transactions, preparing accounts and calculating profit. But today we are going to learn about a special branch of accounting that works like a detective. Look at the picture on the slide. What do you notice? You see a magnifying glass, financial records, calculator, evidence. What do all these mean? These pictures tell us that forensic accounting is not just about preparing accounts. It is about examining financial records carefully to discover the truth. Just like a police officer investigates a crime, a forensic accountant investigates financial crimes such as fraud, corruption, misappropriation of money, etc. Do you believe that money can disappear from a company even when proper accounts are maintained? You should, because money can disappear from a company even when proper accounts are maintained. That's why organizations need professionals who can investigate financial irregularities. Before we understand the meaning of forensic accounting, let us solve a small business mystery. This slide presents a simple business situation. A company transferred rupees 50,000 to a supplier. But now there is a problem. The supplier says the money has never been received. The accountant says the transaction has been recorded correctly. The bank confirms that the transfer was successful. Now think for a moment. Who is telling the truth? Can we blame the accountant immediately? Can we blame the supplier without checking? Of course not. A good investigator never jumps into conclusions. Instead, he collects evidences first. Here, I need answer to a question. Who do you think should investigate this case? An accountant, auditor, police, or lawyer? Each of these people has a role, but when the issue involves financial records and evidence, the person specially trained for this work is to conduct an investigation. This trained professional is called forensic accountant. A forensic accountant checks bank statements, invoices, vouchers, emails, and other records to find out what actually happened. So, what are we going to learn in today's class? Let us look at our learning objectives. By the end of today's class, you should be able to answer some very important questions. For example, what is forensic accounting? Why do businesses need it? What are its objectives and features? Where is it used? How is it different from accounting and auditing? What type of financial fraud exists? Notice the words written at the bottom of the slide. Think, discuss, analyze and discover. These 4 words describe today's class. I don't want you to simply memorize definitions. I want you to think like investigators. Now, I have a question. Have you ever read a newspaper report about a bank scam or online payment fraud? Hope that you have. By the end of this class, you should be able to understand such news much better. Before learning forensic accounting, we must first understand one important word, fraud. What is fraud? Fraud means intentionally deceiving someone for personal or illegal gain. Notice the 4 important characteristics shown on the slide. Fraud is intentional. It is done deliberately. deceptive. It involves hiding the truth or giving false information. For unfair gain, the aim is to obtain money or benefits illegally. Illegal. It violates laws and ethical standards. Look at the examples shown. Theft of cash, fake invoices, payroll fraud, inventory fraud, manipulation of accounts, online fraud, bribery and corruption. These are not just business problems. They also damage the reputation of an organization. But never think that every accounting mistake is a fraud. A mistake happens accidentally. Fraud is committed intentionally. Emphasize the message at the bottom of the slide. Fraud can happen in any organization if internal controls are weak and ethical values are neglected. If fraud is becoming so common, what can businesses do to protect themselves? We can see. Modern businesses operate in a digital environment. Payments are made online. Business is conducted through computers and huge amounts of financial data are generated every day. Because of this, financial frauds are also becoming more sophisticated. Look at the reasons listed on the slide. Businesses need forensic accounting because it helps in detecting financial frauds, investigating corporate scandals, protecting investors, complying with the laws and regulations, strengthening corporate governance, protecting organizational assets and reputation. Forensic accounting is therefore not just about finding fraud after it happens. It also helps organizations to prevent fraud by improving their systems and controls. Do you think that a company can become successful if people lose trust in it? No, trust is one of the biggest assets of any business. Forensic accounting helps build and protect that trust. Therefore, today, forensic accounting is not an option but a necessity for modern businesses. Okay, so far we have understood why businesses need forensic accounting. Now, let us understand what forensic accounting actually means. Look at the definition. It tells us that forensic accounting is the application of accounting, auditing, investigative skills and legal knowledge to detect and investigate financial frauds and present evidence. In simple words, a forensic accountant is a financial detective. Just as a detective collects clues to solve a crime, a forensic accountant collects financial evidences to find out the truth behind suspicious transactions. As shown on the slide, forensic accounting combines four important areas: accounting, auditing, investigation, and law. Accounting helps us understand financial records. Auditing verifies whether those records are correct. Investigation helps us search for facts and evidence. Law ensures that the evidence collected can be used in legal proceedings. The forensic accountant must have knowledge on these areas. Can we investigate a financial fraud without understanding accounting? No. Forensic accounting requires knowledge of accounting principles. Not only from accounting, it requires knowledge from different fields, not accounting alone. The ultimate goal of a forensic accountant is to discover the truth, measure the laws, support legal action, and prevent future frauds. This slide shows that forensic accounting is a combination of four important components working together. Let us understand each one. First one, accounting. Accounting records, classifies, and summarizes financial transactions. Without proper accounting records, investigation becomes difficult. Second, auditing. Auditing examines financial information and verifies whether records are reliable and prepared correctly. Third, investigation. This is where forensic accounting becomes different. The investigator searches for facts, examines evidence, interviews people, and analyzes suspicious activities. Finally, law. Even if fraud is detected, the evidence must satisfy legal requirements before it can be presented in a court of law. It is to be noted that all four parts fit together like pieces of a puzzle. If one part is missing, the investigation may not be complete. When these four components work together, forensic accounting helps detect fraud, collect strong evidence, and support justice. Every subject has a purpose. Similarly, forensic accounting has several important objectives. The first objective is to detect fraud by identifying unusual financial activities. The second objective is to prevent fraud by recommending better controls and systems. The third objective is to collect evidence such as documents, emails, bank records, and digital information. The fourth objective is to support court by presenting financial findings clearly during legal proceedings. The fifth objective is to recover assets that have been misappropriated or hidden. Finally, forensic accounting helps improve corporate governance by promoting transparency, accountability, and ethical practices. Now I have a question. Which is better, finding fraud after it happens or preventing it before it happens? Of course, it is better to prevent fraud before it happens. Forensic accounting is not just about finding fraud, but also about prevention. So, where do organizations actually use forensic accounting? Let us find out. Look at this slide carefully. It shows that forensic accounting is used in many different fields. It is not limited to business organizations alone. Some major areas include fraud investigation, forensic audit, litigation support, banking and insurance, cyber forensics, tax investigation, corporate governance and compliance. This means that wherever money, records and people are involved, forensic accounting has an important role. For example, banks use forensic accountants to investigate loan frauds. Government departments use them to detect misuse of public funds. Companies use them to strengthen internal controls. Courts depend on forensic accountants to understand complicated financial disputes. Now, what do you think? Can forensic accounting be useful in cyber frauds such as online payment scams? Yes, it is useful in online payment scams. As business become digital, forensic accounting is expanding into cyber investigations as well. This scope of forensic accounting is wide and continuously growing because financial frauds are becoming more complex. Now, let us understand the qualities required to become a successful forensic accountant. According to the slide, a forensic accounting is a financial detective. Such a professional requires a combination of knowledge, skills, and ethical values. A forensic accountant should possess strong accounting knowledge, auditing skills, investigative ability, legal knowledge, IT and data analysis skills, communication skills, attention to detail, ethics and integrity, analytical and problem-solving ability. These skills help the forensic accountant perform different roles Look at the diagram given in the slide. The diagram shows the investigation process. It begins with identifying red flags, then collecting evidence, analyzing financial records, documenting findings, and finally supporting legal action. Why is communication skill important for a forensic accountant? To prepare reports and explain findings clearly. Yes, discovering fraud is only one part of the job. The findings should also be explained clearly to managers, lawyers, or judges. This is why it is said, numbers tell a story. Forensic accounting reveals the truth behind it. This sentence beautifully explains the role of a forensic accountant. So far, we have understood what forensic accounting is, why it is needed, and how it works. Now, let us see where it is actually applied. Look at this slide. It shows that forensic accounting is useful in many real-life situations. It is widely used in fraud detection and prevention, where financial frauds such as embezzlement and misappropriation of funds are investigated. Banks and financial institutions use forensic accounting to detect loan frauds, identify theft, and credit card frauds. Companies use it to investigate employee fraud, corruption, and policy violations. It also plays an important role in litigation support, where financial evidence is presented before courts. Other important areas include taxation, insurance claims, bankruptcy, cybercrime investigations, mergers and acquisitions, and even government departments. One question. Can you identify one place in your daily life where financial fraud may occur? We operate bank accounts, makes online shopping, UPI payments, insurance claims, conduct business. In every place the fraud may happen. This slide reminds us that wherever money, records, and financial decisions exist, forensic accounting has an important role to play. This slide classifies forensic accounting into different types based on its purpose. The first type is fraud investigation, which deals with detecting and investigating financial frauds such as embezzlement or asset misappropriation. The second is litigation support, where forensic accountants help lawyers and court by preparing financial reports and expert opinions. The third type is bankruptcy and insolvency investigation, which examines the financial condition of businesses that are unable to repay their debts. The fourth is tax forensics, which helps identify tax evasion and fraudulent tax practices. The fifth is digital forensics, which focuses on electronic records, cyber fraud, and digital evidence. Finally, corporate investigation deals with corruption, ethical violations, and internal misconduct within organizations. Do you know which type of forensic accounting is important in online banking and digital payments? Of course, it is digital forensics. As technology grows, digital investigations are becoming increasingly important. Although these types are different, they all have one common goal: to discover the truth and ensure justice. Now, let us understand why forensic accounting has become so valuable for business and society. This slide explains why forensic accounting is important. First, it helps detect fraud at an early stage, reducing financial losses. Second, it prevents financial misconduct by improving internal controls and accountability. Third, it supports legal proceedings by providing reliable financial evidence. It also improves decision making because management receives accurate financial information. Forensic accounting builds transparency and public confidence, thereby strengthening business reputation. Finally, it contributes to economic development by reducing financial crimes. You can look at the real world examples on the slide. Notice the examples of Satyam, Nirav Modi PNB, DHFL, ICICI and public fund misuse case. These cases show that financial fraud can affect companies, banks and even government institutions. Forensic investigations help identify the truth and recommend corrective actions. What is more valuable for a company, money or public trust? It is public trust. A company's reputation is built over many years but can be damaged by one major fraud. Forensic accounting helps protect that reputation. We have now studied forensic accounting in detail, but how is it different from ordinary accounting and auditing? Let us compare them. This comparison is very important because students often confuse these three terms. Accounting records, classifies and summarizes financial transactions. Its main objective is to prepare financial statements and maintain books of accounts. Auditing examines these records and expresses an opinion on whether the financial statements present a true and fair view. Forensic accounting goes one step further. It investigates financial irregularities, collects evidence and supports legal proceedings. Look at the key point given on the right side of the slide. It explains the difference very clearly. Accounting tells us what happened. Auditing tells us whether it is correct. Forensic accounting tells us why it happened and who is responsible. If a company's cash is missing, who will investigate the reason? It should be investigated by a forensic accountant. Not the sentence at the bottom of the slide. Accounting records, auditing verifies, and forensic accounting investigates. This is one of the easiest ways to remember the difference. We have almost reached the end of today's class. Let us quickly revise everything we have learned. Today we learned that forensic accounting combines accounting, auditing, investigation, and law. Its objectives are to detect fraud, prevent fraud, collect evidence, support courts, recover assets, and improve governance. Its scope extends to banks, companies, insurance, taxation, cybercrime, and government organizations. A forensic accountant requires accounting knowledge, investigation skills, legal awareness, technology skills, and ethical values. Most importantly, forensic accounting is not just about identifying fraud. It is about protecting businesses, promoting fairness, and ensuring justice. Look at the message in the center of the slide. It says that forensic accounting looks beyond numbers, turns data into evidence, and builds a transparent and accountable society. Finally, remember the quotation on the slide. Honest numbers build strong organizations, and strong organizations build a strong nation. That's the real purpose of forensic accounting. Thank you.